Hello and welcome to all. Welcome to another episode of Universe Reviews where I break down all the installments of what creates a universe, which that be in movies or TV shows that are coming together to just set it all up. And it's all in depth for me. So, Rogue One is literally just before the events of A New Hope. And I actually wouldn't have thought that that was actually going to be the case, but it is. So, we're going to talk about the events that happened just before that movie started. So, it's technically like Star Wars Episode 3.9, I guess. It's kind of weird, but alright. Anyway, Rogue One starts us off with beautiful shots of the planet Lamu, and one Lone Star cruiser of some sort, I don't know what it's actually called, reaches the planet's surface. On the surface are three characters: research scientist Galen Erso, Lyra, and Jin, and who have all been hiding for some time, just as Krennic, who's in that ship I was talking about, finds them. Urso goes to confront Krennic as Lyra and Jin were to head to a hiding spot and wait there. But none of that goes according to plan when Lyra shows up wounding Krennic, but not before killing Lyra. Urso is taken away and Jin goes to that said hiding spot to wait it out, and then she's picked up by rebel Saw Gerrera, who we assume took her for the rest of her years, and I imagine a decade and a half passed because Jin is all grown up by this point. But before we know what Jin is up to, we are given the main story unfolding as to what she will be a part of eventually. A cargo pilot, Rook, defects with a holographic message recorded by Jin's father, Galen Erso. This pilot goes to Jeddah looking to give this message to Saw Gerrera, who rescued Jin 15 years ago. So we do know now that it is 15 years ago. Cassian Andor receives this piece of news, and we get to know his character by seeing what shady things he has to do to stay alive. Jyn Erso, we're finally on her now, is seen being transported to somewhere just before the transport is stopped and immediately attacked. The attackers apparently are there to rescue Jyn, but she doesn't seem to care as she hits her attackers and jumps out of the transport, only to be stopped by K2SO. And K2SO, let's just say that he's pretty sarcastic and pretty funny in this film. Jyn is taken by the rebellion to question her about her father. Cassian wishes to meet up with Saw Gerrera in hopes that this pilot who has crucial information about the Death Star can be found. Cassian, K2SO, and Jyn head to Jeddah after a light, funny exchange about Jyn having a blaster. So I guess I don't quite trust Jyn with a blaster just yet because she has done a lot, but they don't really know her, so I guess conflict. I don't know. So, okay, if there's one thing that I love about Rogue One is that they brought back the scale models, the set pieces that looked lived in, and everything looks practical for the most part. When special effects need to come in, it is complementary to what you see that is practical. The special effects are really good, and I dare say that Grand Moff Tarkin is very well handled, and they captured the likeness of Peter Cushing's character. It's very well done, but it is a little strange seeing how that actor died 23 years ago. But the utilization in him is so strong, and it works. Where we're at with this plot here, Grand Moff Tarkin decides to take control of the Death Star project due to the defected pilot. Cassian and Jyn arrive at Jeddah, where they head to the Holy City, where the Empire is taking cyber crystals, which power the lightsabers apparently, and they're using those to power the Death Star. So that means that the entire Holy City is kind of infested with stormtroopers. That being said, Gerrera doesn't believe the pilot when he's trying to talk to him and say, hey, I've got this message. I gave it to them and to you, and I'm the pilot. I'm the pilot. I'm the pilot. Can you believe me? And of course, Saw Gerrera does not. So he sticks a brain creature on him, and I don't understand that part. I really don't. I just don't know why they had to go that far in not believing him. Jyn meets Chirrut Imwe briefly before we get a very entertaining sequence where Gerrera's rebels attack the stormtroopers around the city. Cassian and Jyn play their part in this whole action sequence before the fighting dies down, and they meet Chirrut again, and his friend Baze, I think I'm saying that name right, Baze. But of course, Chirrut gives us an excellent fight scene just before Saw Gerrera's men come in and kind of disrupt the party. So they take them to go see Saw Gerrera. Our crew, imprisoned for the time, we find that the pilot is actually there, mind wiped, and Jin now also talks with Saw. So here's where I actually have a few issues with this moment here. When Cassian talks with the pilot, he helps him gain his sanity back because after Gerrera said the creature will make you lose your mind, the pilot comes back shockingly fine with no issues whatsoever. And Jin and Saw, from what I can tell, have a lot of unfinished business and have a lot of hate towards each other. But that's only a few years that we know of, but we never really get to know the history between them, even in the dialogue. It's very brief and not nearly enough. So it's kind of like a Hail Mary pass and touch and go on history. Great. But Saw shows Jin the hologram that Urso's talking about and the weakness he made within the Death Star, and a way to get to the plans. The plans reside on an Imperial databank on the planet Scarif. Or Scarif. I'm going to say Scarif. Once upon obtaining this news, a distraught and heartbroken Jin goes with Cassian to escape a now crumbling Jeddo, to which the Death Star has now tested their weapon against this said moon. So Gerrera remains to die on this city, so whatever history was there between Jin and Gerrera does not matter. But our crew, the pilot, K2SO, Cassian, Chirrut, Baze, and Jin, of course, they all escape to go and see where Jin's father is, which is a planet called Edu. Jin saw the message, but was the only one who did. So she tries to convince the team to go to Edu to get her father to convince the Rebel Alliance, but little does she know that's going along with the plans anyway. Cassian's order to find Galen Erso and actually kill him. So to make a long story short, the scenes on Edu all end to one thing: Galen Erso. Krennic lines up Galen's crew and forces them all to confess before Galen confesses that he was the one that betrayed Krennic. Rebel forces come in and bomb the place not before Jin makes herself known. Cassian has an opportunity to kill Galen, but does not. After all that, Galen dies anyway. Of course, Cassian and Jin get into it about Cassian's orders, and after that whole mess with Krennic and killing Urso, unfortunately, he goes to talk to Lord Vader. And here we get our first appearance of Vader in his full attire and full-on James Earl Jones. Vader tells Krennic that there will be no further breaches while this Death Star is under wraps and no one knows what it's capable of until the time is right. But besides the appearance and conversation, they could have been talking about dogs, and that conversation would be like,
I like dogs.
"Well, yes, my lord, I like dogs too.
I like dogs more than you."
And that shit still would be compelling. So Jin tells the Rebel Alliance about the plans, but unfortunately they are against it despite a rebellion for that purpose. They just believe that the odds are too great. Of course, without orders, Jin and the crew of Misfits, Cassian, K2SO, Chirrut, Baze, and Rook all take matters into their own hands. They arrive on Scarif to obtain the plans of the Death Star with a plan in mind and knowledge that this is probably one of the riskiest situations any of them have ever been in.
We'll take the next chance. And the next.
So things fall into place and they get to where they need to go. Charges are placed throughout the layout. Cassian and Jin infiltrate the building that has the plans stored away, and thusly, our action begins. The Rebel Alliance is notified of the attack on Scarif, and they assemble their squad. Cassian and Jin are notified of the arrival of the Rebel fleet, but unfortunately the barrier for Scarif to keep everyone in or out is now closed. So Cassian and Jin need to find a way to get that barrier open in order to get the plans transmitted to the rebellion. K2SO is unfortunately the first to die as stormtroopers come in and fire upon him. Cassian and Jin look through the files and realize how they're labeled. Throughout this movie, Jin was always called by Stardust by her father. So Jin naturally starts thinking, putting two and two together, that maybe one of those files is called Stardust. So she finds it, and therefore they found the schematics to the Death Star. Rook, Chirrut, and Baze are pinned in one area, but still need to transmit. There is a console that has a master switch to allow this communication with the Rebel base, and Chirrut goes on literally blind faith that he can make it, but he is literally under heavy fire. Just saying the phrase as he goes all the way, I'm one with the Force is with me, I'm one with the Force is with me. He makes his way there successfully, but unfortunately dies directly there afterwards. And then his buddy, Baze, dies shortly thereafterwards as well. Pilot reaches out to the rebel fleet, and now they know the plans are in hand and that the shields need to be taken down to transmit. The pilot, unfortunately, dies right after that too. Jyn manages to get the message out and Krennic tries to ambush her, but Cassian comes in and wounds Krennic. And by this point, the crew on the Death Star feel the need. They need to just do a massive wipeout and power up the Death Star. The Death Star destroys all of Scarif with everyone on it, including Cassian and Jyn. Darth Vader shows up in just the nick of time and tries to intercept the plans on the Rebel Command ship. He does not succeed, but in terms of fan service, we do get the awesome slaughterfest of red shirts getting killed by Vader. And yes, I know I just did a cross-reference offense, problematic to Star Trek and Star Wars all at the same time. Leave me alone. This is me. This is what I do. Plans manage to make it all the way to Princess Leia, and she affirms that this will provide hope to the rebellion. And that, my friends, is straight into A New Hope, and not even 3 minutes later. I kid you not. If not 3 minutes, maybe 15. I don't care. It is direct. And recounting all this and thinking back on the film, I really enjoyed it. At first, I didn't, and I think I just liked it enough, but I wasn't really impressed with all the callbacks and the homages. But upon a second viewing, after some time had passed, I found myself enjoying it a lot more. The characters are likable, but I do wish there was more to them. The reshoots are noticeable to a degree, as the trailers convey moments never seen in the final film. But if you're not looking or don't know about it, everything's fine. Sure, all the characters die, but you were with them along the journey, and it's something worth noting. But you guys know what's next. It's The Empire Strikes Back. I'm kidding. Relax. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed my recap so far leading into The Last Jedi. Stay tuned for my next recap of A New Hope, and I thank you all so much for watching. And I would love for the Universe Reviews to be a part of your world. So if you guys can like this, and if you found this enjoyable, please subscribe. And it would help further the cause in continuing to do more reviews and recaps like this. Thank you all once again for watching, and as always, until next time.